Welcome to today's video. I'm James, General Manager at the CFS.
Today, James, we're going to be talking about the impact of Covid-19 on funerals and how funeral directors have adapted to the pandemic. What would you say then? How much did that impact funerals and funeral directors?
I think it impacted funerals massively. I think more for families than us. We just had to adapt to each day event, I suppose. But I think for families more of a lot of people not being able to say goodbye to their loved ones and generally giving them a celebration or the service that they deserved.
All right, so then how did the funeral homes then have to change for like the guidelines and restrictions then during the pandemic? Can you remember what the first thing you had to do was?
We had to adapt like every other professional organisation, I suppose, with working at a certain distance with each other. We're quite a close team, and I think a lot of us found that difficult and not seeing other members of the team. So we had funeral directors with one team, funeral directors with another team, so we could still cater for our families and not shut down completely as a business, which thankfully we didn't do. So it's kind of keeping things going, more for the families than anyone else.
So then how did it change then for the families coming in? Were they able to come in, or was it just over the phone, or what was it kind of like for them?
So like the initial meetings with families were either Zoom, Skype or over the phone, which is quite difficult because meeting families face to face, you build that rapport barrier between us, I suppose. Yeah, that was quite an experience. A lot of literature went out via email, so they had that at hand. So we can discuss things a lot easier than they could have been, I suppose, if that's the word to use.
How did the guidelines and restrictions change over time then for you as a funeral director? Because when it first introduced, how many people were allowed to attend the funeral, then how many did it go to?
So it ranged from different councils, and so it was us keeping up with their changes because they all varied. So I believe it started from 5 members of the family or friends attending, and ourselves. It ranged 5, 10, 15, 30. But as I said, that always depended on where. We kind of went to crematoriums where they allowed more people to attend for the family, really. So yeah, we helped them.
What would you say the impact of COVID had on, saying, the bereaved families and the funeral customs then compared to normal?
It had a great impact. Obviously, families want, as I said, to give the service for their loved one, whether it's religious and non-religious, and allowing people to attend to say their goodbyes. And church services, a lot of churches were closed due to the pandemic for obvious reasons, so they couldn't have that service prior to the committer, or that they would have wanted, or the person whose service would have wanted. So it was kind of a couple of areas.
So then when COVID stopped, then what's changed for you, and what have you kept the same? Because you mentioned about did the Zoom meetings with the families initially, and then you sent out more stuff via email.
Yes.
How did you kind of progress out of it, and what did you keep, what did you change, that kind of thing?
Yeah, so exactly what you said. With our profession, it is kind of back in the ages with technology, so we've adapted greatly with that, which has been a help for both us and our families. So learned a lot over that period of time. With kind of the workings or the other inputs for the funerals, it kind of hasn't really altered greatly. I think what you've touched on with direct services, that has been the impact of non-attended funerals. So during the pandemic, you had those adverts, you had that marketing from the likes of the big companies for the non-attended services. So that has been the change within our profession. With the funerals, the attended funerals, I suppose, haven't really changed so much. I think you've got the likes of the webcasts, the recordings of the service, that has come on quite a bit, and it's become publicly more now known than ever. But I think it's more the non-attended services have kind of made the impact.
Why do you think that is so much so?
I think it's you've got that marketing. You've got the couple that sit at home and say, "Oh, I'll have that type of service for myself," and nothing more is ever discussed. And when it comes to the time, unfortunately, when that person has passed away, then that's what they wanted in that conversation. I suppose. I think it's more of the discussion. Sat on the settee and seeing that advert, or it could be for a few reasons. That person just personally didn't want to put their family through the service. Maybe I don't know. I don't know.
What would be the different reasons then, would you say?
You got financial reasons. As I stated, maybe that person who was requested a non-attended service didn't want their family to go through that on the day. But it kind of impacts everyone, I suppose, doesn't it?
As a whole then, from the impact of COVID, do you think it's had a positive effect on you as CFS to like progress, or how do you think it's kind of made things change in a positive or negative way?
I think, like, for a positive, I think quite right, every one of us should have our individual choice. As simple as that. It's kind of, we are here to listen, and these are the options. We'll do what the family want us to do. That's the way it should be. I think the profession is going to change due to the types of services and what we can offer. I suppose that's even more now than before. And you've got to evolve. Like any other profession, you've just got to adapt to the times. It's just being a bit more cautious, because as the percentages vary between attended and non-attended, we just got to be a bit more sensible as running the business, I suppose.
Because of the direct cremation providers, the TV ones, they are big on the call centres, aren't they?
Yeah.
And obviously in COVID, you were doing a lot of Zoom calls and Skypes. So then going back to the in-person rapport, how much does that like mean to a family, and why do you think that's such an important part of what you do and part of your service?
I think not every family's gonna really want the meeting, but I think us, as for who we are and what we do, I think is kind of vital for the family to put their trust in us. And I think by having that face-to-face meeting, you learn a lot more about a person in their presence than you do over the phone and Skype. So I think it might be a personal thing for me, but I'm pretty sure a lot of us in this profession would think quite similar.